welcome to Vassals of Kingsgrave, the international spin-off from A Podcast of Ice and Fire, comprised of listeners and forum members of A Podcast of Ice and Fire who band together to discuss any type of topic that they want. So this episode will discuss the blockbuster movie The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, based on the popular novel Catching Fire, written by Suzanne Collins. My name is Glenn, aka Dago Shrivers from the forums, and I am joined by, is it Claudiometer?
Claudiometer.
Claudiometer, yep. And Sad164.
Yeah.
So this, so I guess we can start with how did you both get into Catching Fire? I'm guessing you both have read the trilogy.
Yes.
I've read till the second book. I haven't read the third book.
The third book.
Shame.
Yeah,
but I'm okay with the
third book is-
spoilers. I read the first book before the first movie came out, and then read the second book before the second movie. So
Are you thinking of reading the third book, or are you waiting for?
yeah, I'll do it before Mockingjay movie comes out.
I guess I don't have an incredibly interesting story, but it was one of those series that I heard a lot about, but just kind of avoided because all I knew about it was young adult fiction and had a love triangle in it. So, but then
But
I
you
got
have-
like 3 minutes into the audiobook and they were like, no, this is teen on teen slaughter. And then I knew it was my jam. So.
So the love triangle gave you a bad impression of the
Well,
series?
it's just kind of that word of mouth aspect of certain, I guess, novels that you hear about, and you're like, oh God, I never wanted that.
But
You actually don't know anything about it. But.
Yeah, when I was reading Hunger Games, the movie was coming out, so I knew which actor was playing which character. So then when I'm reading it, so I can imagine exactly the same actor, when
even
reading
though
it.
the character descriptions don't really match the actors.
Yeah, even though. And then when I go to watch the movies, so it feels like deja vu, like I've seen it before in my head. So it's really similar.
So
Well, when I read the books, the movies were in production but hadn't come out yet, but Jennifer Lawrence had been cast. So I'd just seen her in Winter's Bone, and despite the fact that she's blonde, it's basically the same character.
It is, yeah, I've seen that movie
It's
too.
like really the same character.
I had watched Winter's Bone in the cinema too, and I had just read the first Hunger Games. Well, in fact, I think I had read the entire trilogy by that point.
Mhm.
This was around the end of 2010, and was watching the movie, and I thought that seems, similar to Katniss' story, taking care of
Yeah.
her younger siblings and her mother just
In
distant.
the scary, scary backwoods.
You know,
Yeah, exactly.
I did see this
And
great. Sorry, Sad.
I think with Jennifer Lawrence, whenever she's playing any character, I think you see her and you're like, it's Jennifer Lawrence. I can never forget for a moment that it's like the character. It's always Jennifer Lawrence. Even
I,
I really don't like her that much. I think she is overrated. I just cannot understand why is she getting nominated for Oscars again and winning too.
I did watch this great video on YouTube. This was around the time of the Oscars ceremony, or maybe it was the Golden Globes. So this was for Winter's Bone. She was nominated for a Golden Globe and Oscar. So it was one of those two ceremonies. So she was on the red carpet with her mother, and her mother had said that she had read Winter's Bone and said to her daughter, "This would be a great part for you to play. I can see you were born to play this part." Then the interviewer had asked, so are you reading anything just now? And then she said, well, I am reading The Hunger Games, wink. And then
spoiler.
Jennifer was like, Mom, shut up. That's a great video. I think it's still on YouTube. And this was
That's
before
super
the
cute.
casting announcement for The Hunger Games, the
Yeah.
role of Katniss.
I think she'd just been cast when I watched Winter's Bone, because I just, Googled her at the time, because I was like, who is this chick? I said, so-and-so has been cast in, new young adult blockbuster. I'm like, oh, poor girl,
They don't really seem to play up much the fact that she is a Oscar-nominated actress, or with Catching Fire, I didn't see much in terms
No.
of Oscar winner Jennifer Lawrence in the trailers, which seems strange. Seems
I don't know
strange
if
to me.
they need to. I feel like the series itself has such kind of infamy at this point that they're not really selling it on the basis of, well, an Oscar-winning actress is in it. I think they know that the people who are going to see the movie are going to see the movie whether or not, anyone in it's won an Oscar. Like, I don't think it's the kind of film where that's really a converting point. Like, oh, I'll go see it now.
But it seems to give the film a bit more credence compared to well, sorry, a bit more credibility compared to other teen movies out there.
Oh, totally true. Well, I think the film in general has a lot more credibility than other things in the genre just by its sheer production quality, but you know.
So, did have you both watched the movie now at the
Yes,
cinema? Yep. Did you watch it around first day, first week?
I did. I did watch it on the first week. There's a little old theater around the corner that does like $2 Tuesdays, so literally the only reason I managed to see it.
Yeah, yeah. I watched it like a month ago, and I watched it back to back with Thor 2. So I watched it like a month ago with Thor 2 and back to back. So first I watched Thor 2 and then Hunger Games.
See, I have an issue with watching a movie the first week or the first day because I feel like it would be too crowded. So I like to wait
Mhm.
until maybe a few weeks later and then you can watch the movie and
In
it's
peace. Yeah.
yep, so it's not as crowded. So.
Yeah, especially movies that draw a lot of 12-year-old girls. There's just a certain degree of screaming you don't want to deal with.
So what does everyone think of the movie at the score you would give it out of five?
Well, I would have given the first one a good solid 4 Mockingjays out of 5, but I'm gonna have to do 4.5 for Catching Fire just to leave a little leeway. If it wasn't for the fact that I hope Mockingjay is gonna be amazing, I would give it a 5.
And Sad, what did you think of the movie?
The first movie I'll give 4 out of 5, but this movie I would give a 3.5 out of 5. Because like I even the book like I didn't like as much as the first book, especially the ending. I think it was like a little. I thought like, what's the point of the whole the quarter quell and everything when in the end they're going to escape? Like I didn't feel like there was like a lot of closure at the end of the book.
Hmm.
I didn't like the climax, the whole thing that they were escaped and it was like all a plot and stuff. So I'll give it a 3.5.
And I was thinking that I would also rate the second movie higher than the first for a few reasons, such as it's clear that a lot more money was spent on Catching Fire. It's a greater look to the film. It's very faithful to the second book.
Hmm.
It does have um, these great scenes involved. It's very exhilarating and action suspenseful. I thought that the pace of the movie is also better compared to the book,
Oh
where it
yeah, the
feels
first the first one had some problems.
there's certainly I do like the little things like some of the tributes from the first movie return for the second movie in
Hmm.
little flashbacks. I like that part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Johanna Mason was like really the highlight of the movie for me. Like I really liked her character.
Jena Malone. Okay, sorry.
You know, with when she appeared on screen, I did think I know who that is. Who is that? I was thinking for a long time, could not remember because I didn't keep up with the casting news for this movie
Yeah.
compared to the first movie. And then I was thinking towards the end of the movie, I think it's Jena Malone because I had
Yeah.
watched Saved
Yeah.
with Macaulay Culkin. So I was thinking it's her, it's definitely her, and was right. That's why I stood to the end credits to make sure I was right about that.
Kind kind of hysterical bit of trivia, but Jena Malone was in the 2004 Pride and Prejudice movie, and the actor who plays President Snow was Mr. Bennett in that movie, and she played Lydia. So I'm just saying, if you were going to send any of those girls in the Hunger Games, it would be Lydia. Kind of a Jane Austen joke. I'm
Oh
just going to
yes,
shut up now.
She looks like Kristen Stewart though, doesn't she?
No,
Like,
no.
you don't think so?
Not every skinny, long-faced brunette white girl looks the same, you know. That sounded so much better in my head.
but yes, I would rate it as the second movie 4.25 and maybe
Mhm.
4 out of 5 lemon Mockingjays for the first movie. So with the Hunger Games fandom, so it's similar to a podcast, sorry, a Song of Ice and Fire. There are fan sites, there are
Yeah.
a lot of movie news slash TV show news and some small theories out there. And then there are podcasts. Have any of you listened to any of the Hunger Games podcasts?
Mm, No, for me, I honestly haven't had anything to do with the fandom in this case. Like, I always have a few acquaintances who, we chat about the books and the movies, but I'm not involved with anything outside of that.
Yeah, like same here. I'm not part of its fandom, and even like most of my friends haven't read the book. I think it's just me.
Hmm.
So
Well, I have listened to a few podcasts. I don't listen to them now because I seem to have moved away from that fandom because it
Hmm.
tends to be A Song of Ice and Fire. That's like the big fandom for me.
Yeah,
Whereas
well,
back in 2011, I guess the big fandom was either the Hunger Games or still I was still listening to some Harry Potter podcasts around that time.
hmm.
So there was this podcast produced by Mockingjay.net, and that's supposedly the biggest Hunger Games fan site out there. They produced a podcast called Jabberjays, and that was entertaining. And they produced about 15 episodes, I think. But then suddenly they released episode 15, then that was it. Then no explanation to say, oh, we've stopped doing this podcast. That was just it. No
No,
more.
well,
You know,
a lot of podcasts go that way.
yeah, it's a shame. We shouldn't
yeah,
do that for Vassals of
yeah,
Kingsgrave, I don't think.
No,
may,
I
We should
yeah,
try not to
maybe
do that
it's
anyway.
yeah, maybe it's just me, but I think that the Hunger Games world like isn't complex enough that you can discuss something about it every week. Unlike Harry Potter world or the Song of Ice and Fire world.
Because
yeah,
there,
I think there's kind of like a glass ceiling of actual canon material you need to
Yeah,
theoretically
exactly.
go on indefinitely. And at that point, you're talking, George R. R. Martin, J.K. Rowling, Tolkien, like these massive, rich tomes with all
epics.
the background material. Otherwise, there's only so much you can talk about. No one gonna agree with me here?
Yeah, I
I agree there.
totally.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, even on the fan sites or the forums attached to those fan sites, there wasn't really much discussion. There was just a favorite character and
Yeah,
a few
pretty much.
joke. Yep.
Pretty much my impression of the fandom was just memes about bread and shipping wars, so that was enough for me to get out.
Yeah, I think it's a very character-oriented universe. Like,
Yeah,
I think people are the characters are more famous, like as compared to other books.
yeah. And especially because it's that first person POV,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you
exactly.
you know as a reader that you're getting all your world information through like one very biased narrator, so with limited information of their own, so there's only so much you can ever know about the world. Oh,
Yeah, definitely. And so it's like when reading it, it's more similar to Twilight and that sort of books. But with Harry
the
Potter,
There is this one theory that I did like. I couldn't see much in terms of theories compared
no.
to A Song of Ice and Fire, where there was like a lot. But with
Yeah.
the Hunger Games, there was this one theory that I did like. It's called the Peril theory, and it was just basically that the whole thing was orchestrated by the mayor's wife. That the selection of sorry the selection of Prim, then they expected Katniss to volunteer so that that would give her support with the capital, and then a lot of other things which were resolved down to some. Um, so the selection of Prim
Mm.
was always planned so that Katniss could volunteer, so that she could then win the Hunger Games, and then they could set up the escape. Well, the plan with District 13, but then the plan did have a few flaws, such as the mayor and his family died in the third book, so that destroyed that theory.
Yeah. I think a lot of things could destroy that theory, actually, but that's interesting. No, I haven't heard about any real theories in this universe, like the kind of conspiracy theory stuff you get with Song of Ice and Fire, because of course we compare everything with Song of Ice and Fire. I think
yeah, exactly.
mostly the main kind of like argument discussions I've actually had with people like theorizing it's really like where the district boundaries are, and it's interesting talking to people when they read the books where they imagined all the districts were really based off of kind of like where they grew up in their own geographical context, not geological. It's early.
And it seems that District 5 and District 11, those seem to be the most ethnic of the districts. The
Yes,
description from
District 5 is. Oh, yep,
I think
Asians.
District 5, Asian American.
Ambiguously Asian, yeah.
Yes.
Or it could have just been, those two characters, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah, yeah. I also like searched online like what's like exactly the map of uh, s- uh all the what's the all the states. There's a map of the whole Panama and it's sort of superimposed on the map of the United
Yeah.
States. So have you seen those maps? They're
I,
interesting. Like and then most of them are like very different from each other too.
yeah, I've seen those, and most of them I just look at that and be like, that's not right.
There
But,
was a
yeah.
there was this interview with Suzanne Collins, and it was a
Hmm.
group of book readers, and this was before the release of Catching Fire. One of them had asked if she would ever release a map of Panem, and she said no because she didn't want the readers to have more information than Katniss had.
Oh, yeah, well, that's good. Also, I'm glad she doesn't because I don't want to be wrong. Yeah, what about you? Like, what are the main kind of? It's interesting. Like, there's some districts that no one like cares about where they are at all. They're just somewhere in there. But then there's a lot of like contention over apparently where 4 is and where 7 is. People seem to care about a lot because I guess those are like geographically distinct somehow by the nature of being like fishing and forestry.
And we do learn more about those districts than the
Yeah.
other districts
Well,
because
yeah,
we have
we practically have POV characters from them.
Yeah. I think the what's the district number with like all the African American characters? It's definitely
That's
in the
11.
south, right?
Yeah, I think
That's
that's definitely got to be the Deep South.
but it's like still even in deep south, like not all people are African American, but they're like the district level like is specifically for those people. So I think that's little weird.
I don't. It's kind of hard to say. This is actually another discussion I've had with people on ridiculously nerdy levels about we were talking about District 12 and how there's like it seems people interpret it as having an ethnic divide between like the townspeople and the people in the seam. But it's probably not an ethnic divide as much as just, if we're assuming that the country has been divvied up this way for like many, many generations, it doesn't take a lot of inbreeding to get distinct looks, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if there's a majority anywhere, there even a slight majority, it's going to become more of a majority over time. So if
Uh,
like you're doing the deep south,
yeah.
after a couple generations, if you started out with like a majority African American population, just wherever they drew the boundary, give or take, 100 years, you're gonna have a population that looks not especially European overall, just due to intermarrying. But
Yeah, it
tangent,
makes sense if
tangent.
yeah, if it makes sense if there's like no intermarrying going on between districts. And I don't think it is
Oh
gonna
no,
be
there's
so.
definitely none between districts, but even within districts, in 12, they make like a big deal out of the fact that like PETA and a lot of people from the town are often described as like blue-eyed and blonde. Whereas like the coal miners and like Katniss's family are like all the brunettes and like
olive
olive
skinned
skin.
and
But
grey eyes.
yeah, but if you think of the fact that like blonde and blue hairs are recessive traits, it basically just means that whenever the social divide happened, there were more blondes on one side than the other.
And
So
where do you think District 13 is? Um, it must be near like District 12, so
Washington D.C., that's my theory and I'm sticking to it.
so that's ironic. Like then Washington DC was like sort of destroyed, and the new capital is in the Rocky Mountains. So
Yep.
I'm just happy with District 12 being Appalachia, which is a
Hmm.
confirmed fact, and I don't really think much about the other districts.
Yeah.
so, so District 12 is what?
Appalachia.
Carolina? Acha,
Yeah, like
yeah,
North
yeah,
Carolina.
yeah, makes sense.
So with the movie, is there one thing or character that you missed from which was featured in the book but not in the movie,
I'll let someone
Yeah,
else
or
talk, I
multiple things?
think.
yeah. For the second book, like the thing that really struck me was, though two characters were cut out in the second movie. When Katniss find these two runaways from District 8. So
Oh,
I
right.
thought that, yeah, I thought that was like a really important part of the book, especially, we find a lot about District 13 and, like actually discuss District 13.
Mm.
So when I was watching the movie, I was thinking like uh, most people wouldn't know like that much about District 13 because it wasn't discussed as much.
It
Like
hasn't
you know,
even
in
been
the end,
mentioned in the films, I don't think.
yeah. So even just in the end, they say they don't like. I don't think people who haven't read the books would have realized that this is such an important information.
Mm. It, like on that point, it totally is important information. But if you look at like the parts they really had to trim down in the second movie, it was all the stuff in the beginning in District 12. And I feel like if they'd kept it like cut down to where it was to the bare minimum and then had that pop up, it would have been like a major major tangent for the film. And I don't think they would have been able to really like integrate it into the first act without adding back in a bunch more kind of filler. And when it comes to adaptation, there's simply not time for that. But I do agree that it's going to be a little weird going to Mockingjay not even knowing that there is a District 13 or there ever was.
I mean, they did include small snippets of information about District 13.
Oh, well, then I missed them.
I think, didn't the president mention something about District 13?
Oh, okay. The only thing that I really kind of was hoping to see and didn't see, which is really stupid, is I really wanted to hear Johanna Mason tell Katniss that she'd rip her throat out even if she was knocked up.
I missed the bitch that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I wanted more Joanna basically is what it comes down to.
The one thing that I missed was the when Katniss and Peeta watch the second Quarter Quell
Hmm.
and more information about the Quarter
With
Quells from
Hamish,
history.
yeah.
That was a really great part of the book, which I wish we had. That would, of
Yeah.
course, cost a lot of money
Well,
to
yeah, just
film something
bl
like that.
blame Suzanne Collins because she basically writes her books in 3 acts, but with every book, Act One gets longer. So it's like in Hunger Games, it's like just a little too long. In Catching Fire, it's half the book, and in Mockingjay, it's three-quarters of the book before anything actually happens.
I think the Haymitch in the book is definitely more interesting and like a complex character. But in the movie, I don't think like there is much depth to the character.
I would disagree. I think there is a lot of depth, but they just don't really get to focus on it. I feel like the character is really fleshed out in like these short fleeting moments and you're really depending more on the performance of the actor than the script to get the point across. But I wouldn't say that the character has more depth, more just the character has more detail because in a book time allows for it.
Yeah. Also, like I remember something from the first book, like when Katniss is in the capital, and when she's getting ready for the tournament, like before it, like she notices a girl like couldn't speak, but like she had
Yeah.
seen the girl somewhere else. I don't think that was in the movie.
It wasn't, no.
It wasn't. I mean, we had the I'm forgetting what they're called right now. The
The
mutes?
Avox.
Yeah, the Avox. We had them. I think we definitely saw them in the second movie, if not in the first. But yeah, when I don't know. It's just one of those other little world building details that fleshes out the world, but isn't really directly involved in the action at like most given times.
Yeah, like exactly. I don't think she was like important enough to be in the movie, but I just like noticed that she was missing.
Yeah, but it's one of those threads that it's kind of like if you do one part of the thread, you need to do the rest. So if they'd had
Yeah.
the mute girl and made a point of it, then they would have had to have the refugees in the woods, and then they would have had to have the peacekeeper from 12 show up as an Avox in the capital and follow that line all the way through. Otherwise, it would be really random,
Yeah.
which I don't know. I found that was a bit of a problem in the first movie, especially towards like this third act, second, third act, when they were in the games, when they cut huge sections out, but they left little bits of it in, and it just seemed really like everything with the cave that's actually like 2 chapters long. Instead, we got 5 minutes of the world's most awkward dialogue because there was nothing on either end of it. It was just like, okay then, Peeta.
Yeah, the cave scenes were really annoying. I agree.
I mean, it wasn't like my favorite part of the book, but at least you can see like the context in which those conversations and those interactions happen. Whereas in the book, I mean, the movie, they just happened. And it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and like while reading, you know, like what Katniss is going through, like, you know, everything that she's
Yeah.
thinking. But
That's,
in the,
well,
yeah,
that's another thing I did like about the second movie is I feel like Jennifer Lawrence as an actress is gotten much better at emoting all that internal monologue, which is not easy considering how much of the story is told through,
Our
Katniss having
minds.
feelings or choosing not to have feelings. But
yeah,
But what you were saying about the way Suzanne Collins writes the books, I agree with.
mm,
I did think with the second book that she seems to gloss over a lot of things, and then the book could have just been longer than the standard 450, 500
yeah,
pages for each of the books. Like,
I I do agree. I do agree. It's one of those in terms of adaptations, one of the reasons I feel like the second movie was a much stronger adaptation in many ways, even though they both really encapsulate the spirit of the series, it's because of that first act problem. In the Hunger Games film, there's only so much they could trim in the first act because it's your introduction to the world. You need all that exposition. You need her, getting dressed and going to the Capitol and a stylist and all that. But in the second book, I mean, in the second movie, like that. So they don't need another 8 scenes with her trying on wedding dresses. You don't need another interview scene. You don't need a training montage of drunk Haymitch going for a jog. Like you don't need those things. So they were able to cut them out and let the majority of the movie be the more, I guess, intense parts, and I think it flowed better because of that.
yeah, I
But
agree. Like, I think the second movie was a better adaptation, but it's just that, you know, when I was reading the book, the ending really disappointed me.
mm,
That's why, like,
fair enough. Like this may surprise you, but I'm a huge adaptation apologist. So I tend to be the devil's advocate and in a lot of ways come out on the defense of TV and film adaptations.
while reading the second book, like in the end, when you know it turns out like it was all like a plan from the beginning that you know they're going to transport Katniss like out of there
Mhm.
and everything, taking her to District 13. So you know, I was sort of comparing it with the end of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Mm,
Like when it turns out like the whole tournament was you know actually fixed
yeah.
since the beginning, and they were like trying to transport Harry somewhere else. So I think there was
Yeah, I mean,
the so even like for Harry Potter, people say like then what was the like whole point of the tournament? They could have just like made him you know touch the port key and he could have just you know gone to whatever place. And also like same here, like what was the whole point of the tournament? Why why couldn't they just you know shifted her like in the middle of the tournament or like at the start? I
I don't
you
know.
know so I
I
what do you what do you guys think?
they had to
well,
wait until that happened at the end scene where she fires the arrow and it causes this huge distraction in the systems to go down before they could pull it off successfully, I
well,
think.
yeah, I can see that because like when it's not, game season, then presumably all the former victors and everyone are in their home districts. They're separate. So you'd have to
Yeah.
like individually extract them when they're all walled in and presumably watched. Whereas in the games, in a way they're more free than they are in the rest of their lives because the arena presumably is like a hologrammed in space in the middle of somewhere that has been created. It's not in the capital, it's not in any districts, and yes, it's enclosed, but once again, if you short out that enclosure, what's the capital going to do? They're presumably, a couple hundred miles away. So it does make
Yeah.
sense in a way that that would be the opportune way to get your hands on a bunch of victors, is to
And who
take them out of
exactly
the game.
was like, yeah, and who exactly was like in on the plan? Which characters were
Haymitch, he was
like,
in on the plan.
Joanna and Finnick,
yeah,
and presumably the other victors who like died but were helping them out knew something.
Oh yeah, the District 6
Yeah, well, yeah,
victors they
there
knew.
was Beatty and Wyrus probably knew something. Beatty definitely did. Dude was shifty. Um and I think we can assume the Morphlings did because there was that one that, saved PETA.
Yeah.
So I think just like everyone who wasn't their I'm gonna assume everyone who wasn't their total antagonist in the games knew something, or anyone who was allied with them, but I think the grander conspiracy was probably held with like Haymitch and maybe Finnick and maybe Joanna, because they seem to be, very easy converts to the cause. They've got a lot to be angry about.
Yeah, and Mags too.
Yeah, Mags, not forgetting Mags, but
I think it's so interesting. I read somewhere like at first they were considering Melissa Leo to play the character of
mm,
Mags, but obviously she's not old enough. So
yeah. I
and,
thought I thought the casting was pretty spot on for Finnick and Mags. Like that's exactly what was in my head.
yeah, well,
But
reading I thought they might like cut the character like
yeah, I thought they might get rid of her too, but no, she's in a way she's more important. Like if I thought if they were gonna not cut out entirely, but really trim down to nothing any of the characters, I thought they might take out Joanna, because although she does have a role in Mockingjay, it could have easily been replaced with someone else. And pretty much all she does in Catching Fire is like bitch slap Katniss and scream in her face, which is awesome. But
yeah,
like
I
I
liked
can
when
see
she
how,
pushes over Wirus on the
yeah,
sand. That was a great scene too.
uh, she
yeah.
just
Yeah,
she
all the scenes when the Finnick is carrying Mags, so
yeah,
I thought like it will be very weird when they film it, but it wasn't. Like he's carrying her all the time. So
yeah.
when reading, I thought it would be comical, but it wasn't.
This is kind of a once again going back from the Song of Ice and Fire, but does anyone else hate grand conspiracy reveals? Because I do.
Yeah, I
I,
do
I
too.
kind of resent it when you get to like, second, third book in a series, especially in trilogies, and then, it's the whole, well, someone has been masterminding this all along, and what you understand of the world up until this point is not accurate. I just hate that. But
Yeah, me too. That's my whole problem with the second book. Like, it's all a grand conspiracy.
But yeah, honestly, the only way I like Catching Fire well enough because it's just the scene by scene interaction, at least in the second half, is really entertaining. But the only thing that got me through Mockingjay was the fact that I love the characters. I can't tell you anything that happened in Mockingjay. That's how much I don't remember the plot. Except that birds go boom at the end. That's all I can tell you. But spoilers, sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Spoiler alert for everything that comes out of my mouth today.
With Mockingjay, I guess I can just remember the emotional ending.
Yeah, I
Just
can
thinking,
remember
oh,
the
that's so sad.
emotional points, like what happened to characters, but that's about it.
I mean, well, there is the one event where they go to District 8 in terms of
District 8.
events that happen in that book. That's the one I can remember.
Well, yeah. I wish I could tell you I have any clue what you're talking about, but I don't.
Yeah, can we also like discuss like why are they even, making two parts of the last book?
Oh yeah, that was something I was
Mhm.
going to mention.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because
We
it's
should, yeah, we should discuss it thoroughly. Like same with Twilight. Like there wasn't like anything that happened in the last book, and they like stretched it out into two movies.
so
Do
it's
you
uh,
guys think that worked for Harry Potter though? Like, what do you guys think?
with Harry Potter.
no. Because the first movie was a tour of Great Britain. No.
Yep, with Harry Potter, I guess that's the one that started the craze of splitting
Yeah,
the final
Yeah.
and I
parts.
hate it. Like, I would have preferred like a 4 hour Deathly Hallows movie. You know.
I think that they could have easily made a 3 hour Deathly Hallows movie, and people have watched 3 hour movies in the past, like
Yeah.
Avatar, Titanic, a lot of other movies. It's not as common, but they have watched 3 hour
Yeah.
movies, and they have been big hits at the box office.
Well, I think the obvious cynical answer to why are they making two Mockingjay movies is because people will pay to go to two Mockingjay movies.
Yeah, definitely. That's
But
the reason.
yeah, I mean you could say the same thing for The Hobbit. But if
Oh
anyone
my
other
God,
wants
you
to pay
guys
them
won't believe
back,
it. I just like watched Hobbit today, 2 hours
yeah.
ago,
Oh,
and like the whole movie I was thinking, what are they doing? Like nothing is happening. Why would they make this movie? Why wouldn't it just, I think like they could have made one movie or two at most. Like there was no need for the second part. Nothing
Yeah.
really happened.
I mean, one movie would have been pretty condensed. It would have turned out being like a kids movie in
It
that
should
sense.
be, yeah, I think it should be like a kids movie because the novel was like really was intended toward kids, but they're like
Yeah,
making it more serious and targeting those people who
yeah.
like the
Like
Lord
I
of the
can
Rings,
see
but
it being.
yeah, but there are like no epic battles. Like there's like only one dragon who's the main
Well, there's
villain,
the
and
there's the battle of the certain number I can't remember of armies.
in the Hobbit, I haven't
Yeah,
read the book. Oh, okay. So
I was about to say
maybe it will
Battle of
be.
the Five Kings, and I was like, nope, that's not it.
Maybe it will be in the last part, but this movie like had no climax. In
Mm.
the last 45 minutes, and nothing really happened. And when I was like really excited, oh, something is going to happen, then the movie ended. So
Yeah,
really,
I didn't even see the latest Hobbit movie, and I'm not sure if I care. So
I'm really hating this trend, of making uh more money just by
yeah.
The
stretching.
one justification that I can see is that these films are produced by Lionsgate Films, and up until now they haven't really had any huge hits. I mean,
Yeah.
The Hunger Games I think is the biggest hit for them so far,
Lately, yeah, especially. Well, another
besides the Saw
point,
series. But
another,
Yeah, but
go ahead.
yeah,
yeah,
I
go
so
on. I was saying like a trilogy sounds like pretty cool, the Hunger Games trilogy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really hate when they're saying Catching Fire Part 1. No, sorry, Mockingjay Part 1 and Mockingjay Part 2.
yeah,
I mean, it is a trend which seems to be successful right now. And until
yeah.
one of these part twos or part threes fails, I think studios will still, keep doing them.
Yeah. Well, the problem with that is I don't think they'll ever really fail because when you've got something like Harry Potter, people are gonna go see it. People are gonna buy it on DVD because it's part of something that they love, not because they happen to think that that particular movie was amazing. I don't think that
Yeah,
something like a Harry Potter Part 7.1 could ever fail enough for studios to stop doing it, unfortunately, because people are still gonna go see it.
yeah, exactly. So that's why I feel like they're blackmailing us. People are going to see that, but they shouldn't like take advantage of people's feelings.
I guess if
It's like when TV shows started doing like split seasons and then selling the box sets separately, and I just got so angry I stopped buying box sets.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I noticed that.
they did that with Breaking Bad, right?
Battlestar Galactica.
I know that Glee and
Oh fuck,
Heroes did
Glee.
that.
Sorry,
Glee is the worst. Okay,
but
see.
see, Glee knows that Glee is the worst. At least, like, no one's under any illusions about that.
I think
Oh
that
god, we're
But
so off topic.
I think that if studios ever got really greedy and started doing, like, say if they released a second movie, like say if they split Catching Fire into two movies, then they did the same thing for
Yeah.
Mockingjay, they might think maybe that's over the line, so that's why they leave
Well,
it until the last
You
movie.
know, I have a feeling that the cumulative negative reaction to that happening with The Hobbit might send a message because I've mostly, even though some people are, they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go see the movies, but I don't think anyone really thinks that the three movies is justified, and there's a lot of complaints going around about it that it's not even that they're expanding all the material in a book into three movies, it's that they're taking the basic material from the book and then making up a bunch of shit.
yeah, exactly.
So,
Like using the same characters of Lord of the Rings who weren't even in the book, like creating female characters, because they're feeling that all the characters are males,
well, yeah,
and
honestly, well, there's certain things I can kind of see why you would do that because, yeah, Tolkien, man, just write some chicks. It's not
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it just seems like a joke with Mockingjay, which is, I think, 450 pages split
Hmm.
into two movies, and it's not really 450 pages with the spacing of the text.
Well, okay, let's go devil's advocate here for a second. So if we think of the first two books and movies about being primarily about the games,
Yes.
and Mockingjay is very dense, admittedly, once again, because she's got a 300-page Act 1. Suzanne, what are you doing? Um, sorry. But there's so much lead up and there's so much build up and there's a lot of detail. It's much denser in terms of information than the first two books. So if you think of it as the first two books are about the games, and the first two movies are about the games, and the second two movies are about the revolution. I can see them taking the material from Mockingjay, which I guess most people I've talked to who read the book found reading the book pretty egregious, and turn it into two movies that are rather watchable without throwing out a lot of the story. So theoretically, it could work, or it could be a money grabbing shit stick. I don't know. Like, no.
So there are like no games in the last book in Mockingjay. No games.
Spoilers.
Yeah, you can.
Well, honestly, I don't really remember that well, but
Well, I don't think it's a
I know
spoiler.
there's a
There are no
few.
games in
Yeah,
the final one.
there's
Whereas
no official games, but there's a couple major conflicts and climaxes that I can see them finding one midway to end the first movie, especially because I think through Mockingjay there's very two distinct the one thing I do remember is there's kind of two distinct phases of where Katniss is at as a character. So it does kind of lend itself to a split, but in this case I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because I really think they've done an amazing job thus far with the material. So
Is it just me, like, or most people like went to watch this movie just for the games? Like, they didn't like the first part, but then they were only interested in the games.
which is
Yeah.
shockingly meta when you think about it. Like in just everything about this series is kind of upsettingly meta. By enjoying it, you are the capital. You know.
did it surprise either of you two when it got to the part where they announced the quarter quell and the fact that
In the second books.
in the second book or the second movie for you said?
Well, I don't know. Someone else go first.
Glenn, you go first.
Well, for me, I think it was around the time when they were at the event at the president's home, and she
Yeah,
was dancing with Plutarch Heavensby, and he
yeah.
said something like, "I'll see you in the games." And at that point, I thought she'll be in the 75th Hunger Games.
Mm.
So by the time that the announcement came, which was about 6 chapters later, it wasn't a surprise for me.
Well, I wouldn't say it was a surprise. I don't think I was really consciously expecting something, but Catching Fire, is such that long build up and all that stuff in District 12 in the first quarter that I knew something big was going to happen. Like either it would be a repeat of the games or I don't know. It wasn't shocking. Nope.
And also with the the events, I mean, with the series, it was to be expected something big was going to happen. It wouldn't be just Katniss mentoring someone.
Yeah, oh god. Well, what I could have seen an alternate kind of storyline where they start out like a normal games and forced to mentor some poor schmuck from District 12, but then that turning into like an earlier revolution. You know what I mean? Like I could see if then them have
No, it's so you were thinking maybe they would be mentoring a boy and a girl, they would die, and then something would happen to cause the rebellion
honestly I wasn't even really thinking about it in that sense. It was I well first of all, I listened to the books on audio.
before you read them.
Yeah, I never actually read them in
Oh, I
paperback
see.
because, quite frankly, I've been in university and working full time, and the only way I read books anymore is if someone reads them to me while I'm commuting.
I did listen to the Catching Fire audiobook. That was one of the books that I purchased with. It was when I joined Audible. You get the free
Yeah,
membership credit, so I bought the Catching Fire
yeah,
audiobook and enjoyed
I
that.
yeah, they're quite good audiobooks, especially because of the format being the first person POV. I felt like reading the perspective was much stronger when it was actually spoken, you know, not by Roy Dotrice.
Yeah, I
So,
think
Yeah,
the
I haven't like listened to any books. Like, I only read them. So, but
but
it sounds really interesting. I love
it's
listening to
really
podcasts. So,
yeah,
is it like similar to listening to podcasts?
it's really hit and miss with audiobooks, but I found that for the Hunger Games, it was a really strong narrator that kind of, is Katniss in your head. And
I did
even
like
the variations of like dialect and speech they use to portray the other characters doesn't come off like comical. You know, like some audiobook readers when they're trying to do, you know, like a female audiobook reader doing a male or a male doing a female or an older person, it's always just like, oh, just stop. But it's not that bad. It's quite a good audiobook. I'd recommend it.
I do like the narrator. Just
Yeah,
the the best
narrator.
audiobooks for me are ones where it's multicast.
Mm,
So I like The Help. They have four actors, four voice actors doing the parts for each of the
mhm.
main point of view. I was going to mention the casting rumors for the next movie, and I was going to mention with casting rumors, it's always people mention the biggest actors alive today,
Mhm.
which are unrealistic. So I was expecting Meryl Streep for President Coin, but I can see that I was
Too old.
doing some research earlier today, and I went to some fan site, and they mentioned Julianne Moore has been
Mm.
cast as President
Oh,
Coin.
makes sense. I can see that.
I think
I read
yeah,
about Julian Moore too. Yeah, I think she's like almost cast. Though.
my idea was Joan Allen. I
Mm.
think I had heard that out sometime last year, and I was thinking that would be a good choice. But Julianne Moore, that's a good choice too.
Yeah, honestly, I hadn't really thought about casting because other than, you know, President Coin, most of the new characters come in and catching fire, so that's when I was really invested in it. But yeah, no, I think she'll be good. I don't see why not.
So, anything else you want to say about the movie?
Oh, let me see. Well, no one else will care about this, but as somebody who's studied in costuming for film, the wardrobe in this movie was fantastic. Like the costuming is just so good, but that's just me.
Would that be compared to the first movie?
Well, no, I'd say in general it's definitely stronger than the first movie. I think there's a different designer actually than the first movie if I remember correctly. But I think it's just if you've read the books, then you know that Suzanne Collins really describes everything, like including clothing in detail, but she's not clearly not a designer. She's doing like practical. So I really love how they took the constraints of the plot and what was written in and brought it to the screen in a way that was just like way more aesthetically pleasing than the original concept, but still the same. You know, because like in Catching Fire, the arena outfits were just like heather gray or blue bodysuits, which would have just looked like they were all running around in, you know, long johns, and was just the worst mental, and with like a huge inflatable belt. So they made it work, and I would totally buy a line of exercise gear from them. But you know,
I do agree. I did like the costumes, and in fact, they were phenomenal. The
oh yeah, well, just if you look at all the when they're on the tour, every outfit, the way they've coordinated the characters while still having like a very specific look. You know, it was like Katniss's knitwear line, basically, you
and
know.
with the costumes, it does help for the audience
Oh, of
who
course.
have perhaps not read the books,
Mm.
give a clear image of what the capital is like.
Oh yeah, the Capitals. Like I can only imagine what being a background dresser on that set would be like. Probably just pure insanity and how many people they need, but one thing that you guys might find interesting is a lot of several of like the interior scenes during the Capitol Ball or whatever it is like in the beginning of the movie was actually shot in the Atlanta Marriott Hotel, which is this huge, you know, hotel I think near the airport in Atlanta, but that's actually the hotel where they hold Dragon Con every year.
Ah, okay.
So a couple of my friends and people I know who go to Dragon Con regularly were watching the movie, and during the whole elevator scene with Joanna, somebody like posted a picture of that and said that's not the first time someone stripped in that elevator. So yeah, I don't know. I found that kind of interesting, that real world association. But that's it. That's all I got.
For this movie.
Yeah.
I did remember something from the first Hunger Games movie where um, I think Peter had placed a doll, as in Josh,
Mhm.
I forgot
Josh
his name.
Hutcherson.
Yes, Josh Hutcherson. He had placed a fake doll in Jennifer Lawrence's trailer one time, and she got a huge fright from. I knew that trivia fact, but Nothing for
Uh,
this movie so far.
yeah, all I know about in terms of like kitschy little trivia is I just saw something yesterday where Josh was at like a football game and like the whole audience Mockingjay saluted him. And there's pictures on Tumblr. It's hysterical. But other than that,
Those there,
does
those more.
anybody have like, well, I guess, sad, you don't really know what happens in Mockingjay, but do you have anything you really want to see or you're looking forward to in either of the Mockingjay films?
And I love the Hanging Tree song.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
The see, well, I have tried to find it a few times on YouTube. Sometimes people will record themselves singing the Hanging Tree,
Yeah.
but I've never really thought they did it any justice. Somehow I imagined something better in my mind, so I'm hoping they produce this great song.
I think if they keep with the way the soundtrack for all the District 12 has been that great, like, old Appalachia like music style, if they really get the essence of that, I think it should be really awesome. But, just look how creepy they made the Mockingjay whistle. Like in the trailers, Rue's song,
Oh yeah, that was great,
like chills. So,
and that has become a theme of the trailers, I'm sure.
oh yeah, it's in all the trailers, but it's like this really like eerie version of it. But may or may not have set that as my wake up alarm before.
I think
Get you
that
up fast.
I think that if they I'm looking forward to when Katniss and the group try and do um, the journey through the capsule on the way to the
Yeah,
president's
I mean,
house. I'm looking forward to
unfortunately,
that
that's
sequence.
definitely going to be in the second movie.
Yep, the second movie, absolutely.
Um, well, I don't know if this is really a looking forward to, but one thing that really stuck with me when I read, I guess, listened to Mockingjay was the really heavy kind of just the way Katniss is in like midway through the book when she's doing all the like propaganda trailers and really becoming this image, and it's this, in many ways I guess you could say it's a positive, motivating, image, and it's somewhat very much true to who she is, but it's also a complete lie and it's totally scripted. And I don't know. It felt like that whole kind of character arc was really interesting to play with, once again, the media representations and propaganda and, the relationship between reality and fiction and what's produced and being the audience of fiction that they play with in the first few books. I feel like is really strong in Mockingjay. So I think I'll just be interested to see how they approach that whole character arc for her and how Jennifer will portray the kind of the conflict behind it in that movie. And of course, this just sounds like bullshit I'm making up because I don't actually remember what happens, but I do genuinely want to see it. Also, I don't remember most of that book.
I'm looking forward to this one part. I'm not sure if they'll do it how it's presented in the book, but there is this one part where it's just a small thing, but the stylists get
Mm,
tortured. Then after
yeah.
that, they are on their way to the canteen area, the
And
cafeteria,
yeah, and when they're all like falling apart.
and Katniss says this one line like she sighs because she has to walk into the cafeteria area with them, and she'll look ridiculous.
Mm, yeah.
That's one of the funnier parts of the book that I liked.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I feel like they might keep that in, especially if they're with this two movie spread, because they did the whole scene with Cinna, like completely true, and they could have easily like just written him off screen, but they're very good at identifying and keeping like the emotional moments and the emotional core of the series and
Uh,
scrapping
which
what they don't need.
which
I mean,
scene are you talking about? Like with Cena?
yeah. Well,
The last scene with Cena, like in which she's taken away.
yeah, when he's beaten down and dragged off.
Yeah.
I was just saying that there's some more plot with this. There's kind of like this Effie and the stylist kind of have a fall from grace in Mockingjay. Spoiler alert. And we were just saying we weren't sure if that would make it into the movies, and I was suggesting that I feel like it might because a lot like Cinna, it's an emotional moment and kind of a perspective for the viewer that they don't really need because it's not directly influencing the main character, but they do keep it because it is an emotional component for the character and for the story. So, fingers crossed.
So I had to ask, like, is Gale a bigger character in the last book? Because
Oh,
the
okay.
in the
Absolutely, yeah. You spend a lot of time with Gale in the last book compared to
Yeah.
Peeta, who only appears maybe
yeah,
halfway through the book.
in this
Yeah.
while watching the first and the second movie, like Liam Hemsworth didn't like really have much to do. So I
Which
was
is
like,
fine for some things.
why is Gale considered so important? He's part of the triangle, obviously, but I don't think like he had much to do in the first and the second.
Well, he doesn't. He has a lot more in the second book than they put into the second movie, but a lot of it is kind of more of the same, I felt like.
Yeah,
Like when you watch the film, he only has a few scenes, but they really get across who his character is, what his like opinions and beliefs are and where he stands. And that's all you need. You didn't need like another 6 scenes reinforcing who that character is because you know who that character is through very simple scenes. So I'm okay with the fact that there's was not a lot of District 12 and Gale, partially because that's a very slow part of the book, and partially because it was just unnecessary for storytelling. But they'll need to have a lot more of him in Mockingjay just because he's up front and center for a good portion of it. Same with her mother and Prim when you think about it.
yeah.
They're really only in the first couple scenes of the first two movies, but because we don't have the same game structure in Mockingjay, all the characters from 12 who are important are like part of the cast now in a way that they really weren't.
So those characters will certainly get more screen time in the next two movies.
Which will make the end of Mockingjay Part
More
2
satisfying.
make me cry like a bitch. So,
Me too.
Yeah, I can predict now like what's going to happen. I can
Oh,
imagine.
you'll find out.
oh yeah, and
So
there's
like, what do you guys think? Like, I should read the last book, or is it okay if I just watch the
I think you
movies?
should read it.
oh yeah, definitely read it. Just if not only because it'll be a while before Mockingjay is out.
I think it's released
Mhm.
November 2014, so that's the
Yeah,
third part, the first
yeah.
part of the third movie. So
But
you
Yeah,
it'll
I'll
be a
read
won't
while
it.
find out
before
what
it's
Pro-
all
I'm talking
complete.
about
yeah,
until.
I'll probably read it like one day before the movie comes out.
Oh,
Well, even then, you would still have, so you would only get one chunk of that book,
yeah.
so it would be, most of the events would be a surprise to you because it's split, the movie is split into two, so you would be reading the full thing. So part two would not be a surprise to you.
Yeah.
Well, I don't, there's some people who they really want to have the surprise, but I don't know. I kind of, sometimes I like watching the like adaptation first and then reading the book because inevitably the book has a lot of detail and random stuff that gets taken out. So it's almost like you watch a movie and then you get the deleted scenes. And then you're also much more less likely to be sitting in a movie going, "Oh, they changed that. They changed that. That's not right." But no, just read it. Do it.
The DVD release, I can see that that's going to be released on during March 2014, the
Mm,
Catching Fire movie release.
nice.
Anyone thinking of buying that, the DVD?
Are we talking in reality or if I had money? Because those are different answers.
I see. Okay, I guess
Sir,
reality.
okay, well, I will probably not be purchasing the DVD simply because purchasing DVDs is not a thing that happens when you're in university. But it is a DVD I would like to own, if that's the proper answer to the
I can
question. I
see
would
that
like
there
to own
are
both of
much better special features on this DVD compared
them.
to the Hunger Games. So with the Hunger Games, I would have maybe bought it, but then I noticed there isn't an audio commentary on this.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
with
yeah,
Catching
I've
Fire,
heard.
there is going to be, so I'm excited about that.
Well, they're just the main cast are pretty funny people in real life, so we'd definitely like to
So with
listen to that.
audio commentary and deleted scenes, those are the most important special features
Oh, of
on
course.
DVDs.
But the real question
Yeah.
is, would you theoretically pre-order Mockingjay? Oh, oh. No, we've discussed this. I'm gonna shut up.
Oh, I did notice
Um.
that with the Mockingjay book, it's a shame that I bought mine in the UK, but if I had bought the book in the U or if I lived in America, you would get this around the time of release of the book. You got a free Mockingjay pen.
Oh,
I know,
ah,
yeah.
I want one, but
So I was like reading all this trivia, and there was some really interesting point. I read that Kristen Bell was actually seeking the role of Johanna Mason because she's a huge fan of the books. So what do you guys
and
think? Like,
she is wonderful, but that would have been terrible.
yeah, exactly.
I actually this was a huge debate for like the casting debate for like Joanna and Finnick and everyone was just blowing up the internet for quite a while. I don't know if any of you guys caught on to that, but I have a couple friends who were just like really invested, and I had this long-term argument going on when it was rumored that Jena Malone might have been cast. And I thought she was going to be perfect, and my friend thought she was going to be the worst choice ever. So I get, you know, a couple of quarters tossed my way, maybe. Not saying I was right, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think that she would be this good too.
Mm.
Like she was
I
awesome. Like she was perfect, Joanna.
I didn't think they'd even give her enough material to be good with, honestly. I was really going into the movie expecting that, you know, like Mags would be just standing there until she died. Joanna would not do anything except for, throw an axe at someone, maybe bitch slap Katniss, and that Finnick would just wink and smile a lot and take his shirt off. That was really my best case scenario for the movie, so I'm very pleasantly surprised they actually gave all these new characters like really full personalities and really true to the books.
So can we discuss the whole elevator scene at this point?
The whole what?
Yeah. Uh,
Oh my God,
Joanna's
the elevator.
elevator scene.
I want that played at my funeral. What is there to discuss other than oh, did you
Yeah,
guys
it was in the
enjoy this
books.
scene?
It was in the books, right? I don't know. It was in the books.
Oh yeah, it's in the books.
Sorry, what are we talking about?
We're talking about the elevator scene.
Oh, the elevator scene. Yeah, that's an amazing elevator.
Yeah, it was everything I hoped it would be.
Yeah, but it
I'm
was a direct translation from the books, the
It
exact
pretty
same
much
fashion.
was, except that she wasn't actually in like a literal tree costume, which made me happy because that's one of those like Suzanne Collins, right? She's like in a giant tree mascot costume and just unzips it. And it was like, God, I hope they don't do that. But no, it was great.
I liked Josh Hutcherson's smile during that scene.
I think the best part of that scene is that Katniss's face. If you just watch nothing but her face in that scene, there's lots of like clips out on Tumblr. It looks like she's about to implode, and it's like it's halfway between like I am so tired of this shit and I'm about to kill someone. It's pretty funny. I don't know. I liked Haymitch's reaction. It was just like, cheers, I'll see you at the bar later.
I also
But
think that it was like the perfect introduction for her character.
oh yeah, of course. I mean both. I mean they're from the books. How we meet Finnick and how we meet Joanna was like identical to the books, and it's just the best way you can introduce those two characters in their natural environment.
Yeah, Sam Cleffin, the guy who played Finnick, he did a really good job with him.
Yeah, no, I was pleasantly surprised again because in my cynicism, I thought they were just gonna cast the first Abercrombie model who came by and he wouldn't really have anything to do other than be pretty, so it wouldn't matter how good they could act. But no, he was great.
I was thinking, is there anything anyone else wants to talk about?
Well, I think the real important question here is, are we gonna play, what is it?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Dead wife scorpions? What would it be in this
Yeah,
what would it be in this universe like marry capital sex slave Mocking Jabberjays? I don't know. We gotta work on that.
we have to work on something. Yep.
Throw them to the mutts is the option. Option C.
No, you would
yeah.
have to option three would be you would either take part in the Hunger
Yeah,
Games or
option three is you volunteer as tribute rather
oh,
than
that's it. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So I guess we can start with Katniss Everdeen, and let's see. I would say, uh,
First of all, everyone is 18.
well,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, let's
We're
just
adjusting the
throw that out
ages.
there. Everyone is 18.
I mean, the actors are over 18, so.
Yeah, well,
And
I
we
don't
are
know if we're
talking about the
talking book
movie
version or
context.
movie version too.
So, yes, with Jennifer Lawrence, I would say marry.
Yeah. Well, are we marrying Katniss or Jennifer
Good
Lawrence?
point.
'Cause
But we are talking about the movie and we're talking about. So, we're
God.
thinking Jennifer Lawrence description of the character, not book
Yeah.
description of the character.
I don't know. I feel like she'd be hard to live with.
Jennifer Lawrence or Katniss?
I
Katniss, but imagine Jennifer Lawrence when you say Katniss.
Okay, we're doing mall movie versions then?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, movie versions,
All
definitely.
right. You know what? I'd say Mary because if we got sick of each other, she'd just go off into the woods for like a week and come back with a deer and a better attitude. So, yes, I would definitely marry that.
Yeah, I'd volunteer as as a tribute.
What?
Yeah,
Fine, more
not really a Katniss fan. Yeah.
You don't like a hunter and
not even one night?
No, like, no, I don't really. Not a Katniss fan.
okay, well, that's fair.
Yeah.
Next up,
She'd
Peeta,
totally
I would
top
say
anyway.
Peeta, I would definitely choose over Gale. And let's see, I would say marry Peeta.
Oh yeah, marry Peta. Peta is straight up housewife material.
Oh yeah, and he can bake. He's got that covered.
He can bake, he can
Cook, most
paint,
likely.
he can probably do great interior decorating. Like 100%
Y-
stay at home dad. Like, are you kidding? Marriage material.
Yeah, I'll maybe that too.
Also, I'm really short, so Josh would be like average height next to me.
Yeah, don't you guys think that's totally awkward how Jennifer Lawrence is taller than him in the movie?
Well, they're actually like exactly the same height, but she's always in heels. So,
So maybe it's intentional, like they're doing it on purpose.
well, he's not super well. It's Peta isn't super tall in the books. It's just that Katniss is shorter in the books. So,
Oh, yeah, Jennifer Lawrence is like really tall.
yeah, I think Katniss was supposed to be like 5'2", 5'3" in the books, and Jennifer's like 5'7". So,
And Peeta was supposed to be a head taller than Katniss.
oh, I don't remember that. I just remember that Gale was really tall. Peter was always described as being stocky, so I always think of that as shorter, but anyway.
Well, remember that description where she has to kneel, she has to tiptoe to kiss him on the cheek.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember that part. There's a theme here going on.
But anyway, moving on to Gale, I guess I chose Peeta over Gale, and I think that Gale's a whiny bitch, so I would just volunteer as tribute.
I don't know. I'm torn between like hate sex and volunteering as tribute because I don't
Why
know
do you
how
guys
well
hate gay so much?
I don't know how well I do in the arena. So I might one night if he wasn't just like crying about Katniss the whole time, but slap him a few times, he'll probably get over it.
I like Gale more than Peeta, so I'll say Mary too.
Oh, fine.
You
Wait,
are on
you
your
like
own
the
there.
big burly coal miner types?
Sorry?
I said you like the coal miner types?
Yeah, no, I really like.
All right,
Anyway,
fair enough. Fair enough.
moving on to Haymitch, I guess
Oh,
I would. I mean, he's a drunk, sort of
yeah, he
abusive.
is.
I don't think he could take that for much longer, so I think I would volunteer as tribute. Plus, he doesn't really seem that attractive.
Uh, You know what? Like I feel like I might marry him if we could have like a drinking buddies arrangement where it's just we just like go out and screw shit up and then each go home separately. But nah, I don't know. I might be going into the arena for this one.
Well,
yeah, I'll
with
volunteer as a tribute
with the
with
District
Haymitch.
12, they have that whole ceremony where all you have to do is have this dinner
Oh,
and
yeah,
say
right.
we're married.
Never mind, never mind. Forget the arena. We're just gonna make some toast and then go our separate ways.
It's
Hang
still a
out on
valid
weekends,
marriage.
walk the dog. Effie?
I guess she's high maintenance, a bit annoying, but I guess see, I guess I would marry her. She would always keep me in check, say you're doing this, and um, it would be all the appointments, all the dentist appointments and stuff. That would always be sorted.
So you want a secretary, basically.
I guess that would help. moving through life.
What are you, Sad?
I'll marry Effie definitely. Like she's definitely
Wow.
one of my most favorite characters, and especially Elizabeth Banks. I think she's perfect. Effie. She's so full of life, and whenever she's on the screen, I really like her scenes.
Well, Effie, bless her, is the opposite of everything I want in a woman. So, um, I volunteer as tribute. Get me out of there.
Next one, I guess, would be, let's see, oh yeah, Senna. Senna.
Oh, Mary.
One night.
That's it. No, I'm marrying him. Be partners in crime, making fabulous dresses.
Yeah, who could live without the fabulous dresses and costumes?
Oh,
I guess
seriously, like that's actually what I do, and I look good in gold eyeliner, so we can always match. It's perfect.
he does seem really sweet, so I think I would marry him.
Yeah, he'd take good
Yeah, I
care of you.
don't. Yeah, he's a good guy, but I'm not going to marry him, and I don't really know much about his character. So
Fair
one
enough.
night.
I guess
Fair
that's the main cast from the first movie, so the new ones would be Johanna Mason.
enough. No question.
Yeah, married
In
definitely.
case my enormous crush over here is not really evident, marriage.
One night
Well,
stand, I think.
yeah. To bring it into Song of Ice and Fire terms, like my favorite character there is Asha, so women with axes. I'm just saying.
That's a turn on.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
And Finnick Odair.
I'd say one night, but we actually know where he's been.
Oh yeah,
So
everyone inside,
everywhere.
everyone within the capital, and they've
Yeah,
been inside him
everywhere. I
too.
don't know. I feel like you'd be covered in glitter for the rest of your life if you got near that. But I don't know. I could do one night.
Yeah, I'll say one night too. I
Yeah, I
like his
guess one
character,
night.
but obviously
Yeah,
he's not marriage material.
he's
Obviously.
a professional. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Poor Finny.
Anyone that I've forgotten?
We could go through some of the more like there's always Beatty and Wirus. You want to marry your IT guy?
He would be, yeah, that's good. I mean, he is very smart. He knows a lot about electrics, so that would be
Yeah,
very
he'd
useful.
always keep the house running like perfectly.
Yeah, I found those characters really annoying. So.
Oh, what about President Snow?
Oh, blood breath. No. Um,
If you think about it, he's rich. He commands the capital, and he's very high up, so you would be protected by him.
Yeah,
uh,
he is sort of like Tywin Lannister sort of a person. So,
no, no.
Although ignoring Mockingjay.
Yeah. Nah, sorry. Into the arena. I just can't do it.
Although that was interesting, the fact that so in Mockingjay there was something about a granddaughter of his,
Yeah,
and
and
they've
they
already
put her in
started
the
the
movies, and she's in the second movie, and it's so
yes,
effective.
they're already starting
so I,
that plot line.
Yeah, I just love
yeah, I don't remember.
since when do you wear your hair like that? It was so good.
Yeah, was her granddaughter in the books because I don't remember.
I've heard that.
She's mentioned, but she's never on screen.
Oh, so we don't know like she's a Katniss fan. So,
Yeah. Well, who wouldn't be?
but yeah, but that's really effective. Definitely.
Yeah. What other characters? We have. Suddenly it feels like there's not a lot of characters in this. It always feels like such a huge cast that you think about it. You're just like, nope.
I mean, the people that actually get to speak, there's not
Yeah,
that much.
people with speaking roles who aren't children and dead.
We can
Although,
also do
if
math.
we narrowed this down to people living at the end of Mockingjay, it'd be a much shorter list. Eno Baria, if you're into them teeth.
I've forgotten what she looks like in the movie.
She's,
Yeah,
I
she
think
was the
she's
one.
Latina and she's got the sharpened teeth.
I think I would volunteer as tribute.
Oh, yeah.
One night.
One night with a
Really into this.
shark? Really?
Yeah,
Fine. Just
somewhat this thing.
your funeral, your ephemeral artery, but I think we've gone through it, but just about everyone. Unless you want to get creepy and start bringing like the book one tributes in, but that's not
Well, I would marry the District 1 boy.
really.
And oh yeah, he also gets a feature in the second movie too.
Oh yeah, I think that's stock footage. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
the
I also
main
thought
villain.
the
Okay, if if she wasn't like 12, I think Prim would be marriage material. Just saying.
Yeah, like
she'll become
She's
definitely
a
like.
pretty, and
nurse.
she
She's a
is
good
eventually.
housekeeper. It's all
Yeah,
good.
she's definitely less annoying than Katniss. Yeah.
Well, granted, we don't know what's inside her head. If we ever had a Prim POV, it might just be, OMG, mom is being such a bitch, sister gonna die, boy next door don't like me, lol. Like, we don't know. She could just think about her cat all the time.
Oh, I did like the fact that they included the cat.
Oh god, I love that cat. Love that cat. That
We
cat
can
was
also
like
do.
the last character standing.
Yeah. We can also do Plutarch Heavensby.
Oh no. I mean, she's kind of a mastermind in the second movie. He's just like
Yeah.
playing Snow like a cheap guitar, which is impressive. Oh, Seneca Crane.
Oh, Seneca Crane, yep. Oh, I was watching American Beauty last night.
That beard.
Those piercing eyes.
That beard.
I think I would marry him, but
Yeah.
he's of course in the list of dead characters by now.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I at least definitely one night, if nothing else, so I could steal that really awesome jacket he's wearing in the first movie. Just make
Yeah,
off
I'll
with it.
marry him too because of
Yeah,
the actor. I really like American Beauty. So
yeah,
and the whole weird thing was like when I read the first book and then his character wasn't in the first book and it's only mentioned in the second book.
yeah.
But they put him in the first movie. So I
One.
thought, I had this feeling like maybe his character would be more important in book two, so that's why they're putting him in book one. But he was already dead in book two,
Well,
so I didn't see that
other
coming.
other than the elevator scene, I have to say my favorite moment of the second movie was when she hangs up the dummy and then does her little fuck y'all bow and pieces out. So that was pretty
Yeah,
fantastic.
uh,
And speaking of piecing out, I really gotta get up and do something
No
with my
problem.
day. So
I'm glad
anything else?
you could both
Anything
join
else
me
for
for this.
Hmm?
I'm glad you could both join me for this podcast.
Ah, yes. Hopefully we can
yeah,
cut out all the awkward pauses.
Of course.
yeah. Nice to talk to you. Actually, it's my first podcast, so I apologize for any awkward moment.
Oh, if you could just edit it so it doesn't sound like I'm talking the entire time, that would be great.
No problem.
Okay. Just have a lot of opinions about this movie. All right, so I guess I am bidding you guys good day.
Okay, yep. So
All right,
thanks.
cheers.
Yeah, nice to
Bye.
talk.
We'll talk again.
Bye. Nice
Bye.
talking.